So I've been using Claude Code as my primary design tool for just over a month now, and it's been pretty spectacular. I've made a few things here. I made this sort of pricing pages, 3-tier pricing page with a comparison table, and it's got some other stuff here like a testimonial and a FAQ section. This isn't for anything particular. I just kind of made it for fun, just to kind of get familiar with using Claude Code as a design tool. Then I also made this sort of finance dashboard. We made this for Tailwind Labs to sort of consolidate all of our revenue streams into one clean dashboard. I populated this with a bunch of fake content just to make it look all colorful and whatnot. And I thought it'd be cool today to build a marketing page for this app and just show you my workflow and maybe share a few design tips along the way. Now, I have it opened up in my Ghosty app here. I have the folder I created for this project. Full disclosure, I'm still incredibly new to the command line. This is all pretty foreign to me. Adam Wathen helped me get set up initially, and now I just have this Veep project template that I copy from every project that I start. So at this point, I'm pretty much only confident like changing directories and getting Claude started up. But so yeah, I have this project open. I'm going to get it all started and up and running here. So okay, so this is now running on my local host here. So I'm just working from a blank canvas here. There's no skills I'm using. I'm just starting from complete scratch here. Okay, so I'm going to split this window up. Okay, and now I'm going to run Claude. Okay, so let's get started here. So I did sort of pre-write a prompt here. I'm going to copy and paste that in and I'll read it out. Okay, so I'm going to say design a simple marketing homepage for a finance app. It's essentially an app that consolidates all of your revenue streams to see all the activity in one dashboard. It focuses on revenue tracking, expense management, forecasting, and tax prep. Keep it pretty simple. Include a navbar hero, logo cloud feature section that highlights like 2 of the main features, a stat section, testimonials, and finish it with a CTA section and footer. And let's see what it outputs. We have it billowing now. Okay, so this is a decent starting point. I could work with this. Yep. Okay, I mean, I like that it used like this emerald color instead of indigo, which I find AI kind of defaults to every time. So that's cool. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to put an actual screenshot of the app in here. It kind of just generated this fake UI. It kind of guessed based on how I described the app. Putting a screenshot on your homepage, like if you don't have any graphics or anything, including a screenshot is just a great way to bring a graphical element into your homepage, just to make it look a little bit more splashy, make it look more interesting if you don't have any sort of visual graphics to work with. So, okay, so I'm going to say, so I said, swap the demo in the hero, grab a screenshot of the app in the code/finance app in the index.html file. Make sure you use any dependencies so it renders correctly. Capture it at 3x so it's high resolution. Razzmatazzing. Okay, so that did a decent job. Let me just look in here. So I can already see, what the heck? The corner radius isn't quite right there. And even when I zoom in here, I can also see that like the grays that I'm using on this app it looks like it's using like a slate gray here. So I'm gonna update a few things here. First, tighten up the corner radius on this screenshot. Cool. That looks like it's, just eyeballing it. It's a little bit better. kind of matches the corner radius of the corner radius that I generated in the screenshot. I'm also going to update the grays now. This is using, it looks like it's using more of a slate, and my screenshot is using, I think I'm using like neutrals in there, like neutral grays. So update all the grays on the site to use neutral. The next thing I'm going to do is, right now it kind of looks muddy here with like, you got the shadow and then the inner gray border. What is it using for a border here? Yeah, it's using a solid color for border. So one thing I like to do when making borders on elements like buttons and screenshots and stuff like this is I like to use, I try to avoid using solid colors because you get that muddy looking effect between the shadow and the border. What I like to do is use like a gray 950 and then reduce the opacity to like 10% and make it stick on the outside. So you kind of get that crisp looking shadow that kind of sits behind that border. So I'm going to say use a outer ring on the screenshot instead of a border. Make it gray 950 at 10%. Okay, and now we have a much crisper looking border here. It kind of bleeds into the shadow nicely. It looks a lot cleaner. It's not as muddy as it was. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, like I said, I do admire that I chose this green instead of indigo, but I do want to keep this kind of neutral looking. So swap all the uses of emerald to gray 950. Okay, I like that better. Okay, next thing. Okay, so this looks like it's using inter here, which I like. I'm just going to confirm that. Yep. Okay. But I want to make sure it's using the variable version of the font, and it doesn't look like it's doing that because the nice thing about the variable version of inter is that it's got a text version of the font. It's got a display version of the font, and the display version just looks a little bit more, has a little more higher impact to it. I don't really know how to describe it. It just feels more display-y. And so I want to make sure I'm using that one. Plus, it has all of the variable version has all of the fancy font features. Like if I want to do a single story A, so I find that what Clawin generates sites, it typically leans into just like the sort of basic default version of inter. So I'm going to say make sure you're using the variable version of inter with all the fancy font feature settings and the display version of the font, and get it from the rsms.me, Rasmus's website. Okay, so that's better. I don't want to use that version of the L. Don't use the version of the lower case L with the tail. Okay, so that's looking better. So another cool thing about using inter is I can use sort of all the in-between weights. So if I like medium feels a little too thin, and semi-bold feels a little bit too bold, I can find something kind of in the middle. So I'm going to say change the font weight to be, I'm going to say 550, just somewhere in between medium and semi-bold. So medium would be 500, semi-bold would be 600, I believe. Okay. And I'm also going to make it, make the tracking just a bit tighter, just to kind of give it a little bit more impact. I find like when you get to font sizes over like, 24 to 30 pixels, I like to make the tracking just a bit tighter. So I'm going to tighten that up a bit. So make the tracking in the headline a bit tighter. Cool. And now one thing I find that when I generate sites with AI, that it kind of defaults, it centers everything by default. I'm more of like a left align guy. Another thing you could do is I did this on the Tailwind Plus website. If I go into, where did I do this? Yeah, on the Tailwind Plus homepage, I kind of did this sort of split headline with the subheading, like split, like not quite 50-50. There's a little more weight given to the headline, but you know, it's just a little bit more interesting than a center aligned or left aligned headline, and it kind of just fills that space nicer. So change the layout of the hero headline, make the headline left aligned, and put the supporting text on the right with the buttons. Left aligned, make sure the top of the supporting text lines up with the top of the headline. Make it like a 3/5 and 2/5 split. Let's see what that does. It's a pretty sloppily written sentence, so I just kind of, you know, oh, it got it pretty right there. That looks pretty good. And I'm just gonna get rid of this eyebrow treatment. I don't want that in there. Okay, and I also want to make the supporting text a bit smaller. I want these to kind of almost be the same height. I might make these buttons a bit smaller too. Let's just make it like, make the supporting text 16 pixels. Let's just see what that looks like. I'm guessing that's like 18 or 20 looks like right now. Okay, that's a bit better. Okay, I'm gonna make this a bit wider too. So make the page container wider, maybe 1280. Okay, that's a bit better. I don't like the way this sort of wrapped here. I'd like this to be with this sentence. So put each sentence in the headline on its own line. That's better. Okay. Next thing. First of all, I don't like that this is kind of doing this zigzaggy thing. Yeah, so make the screenshot full width in the page container. Okay, that looks better. I also think those buttons are looking pretty clunky. I think the text could be smaller than them too. Make the buttons in the hero smaller. Thinking like 14 pixel font size. Well, I like somewhere in like the 36, 38 pixel range for button height. I'm just gonna say that. Make the button height 38 pixels. Not fixed height though. Just make it work with padding and stuff. I don't like that icon in there. It just, I don't know. Not into it. Get rid of the icon in the watch demo button. I want it looking clean, you know? Okay, I also think that the X padding is a little bit more, you know what, I'm gonna make these pill buttons and I'll see what happens from there. So make the buttons pill shaped all through the site. Okay, that looks pretty good. And make the secondary button a bit more elevated. Give it a small shadow. Okay, and how is this built? Okay, so I think this is doing what it was doing on the screenshot, where the border is using a solid color, and you're kind of getting that muddy looking border right now. So I'm going to say use a outer ring instead of a border on the secondary button. 950-10. Okay, so yeah, now you get a much more crisp looking shadow. Now, how is this built? Okay, so this button has a ring around it, and this one doesn't. So as a result, this is technically 2 pixels taller than this button, and we can't have that. That's how I lose sleep at night. Adam Wathen cooked something up for me to solve this problem. I have it saved in a Tailwind play here. Basically, what you want to do is wrap this bordered button in a span with this inline flex and p-px utility, and then he puts all this calc stuff on here. Honestly, I could not have cooked this up myself. This is some Adam Wathen magic happening. So, but he did kind of give me this Tailwind play. I'll be sure to put a link to this play in the comments so you can use it yourself. I don't fully understand how it works, but I'm gonna take this structure here and update all the buttons to be structured like this, and let's see what it does. That didn't do what I wanted it to do. Oh, and it put the shadow on the parent here. Okay. Make sure the button shadow is on the button, not the parent span class. That's looking better. Okay, this is looking pretty coming along. It's looking clean. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is update the hero. So let's put a different logo in there. It just kind of generated this fake logo and it has weird alignment. I have a Figma file. This is one of the few reasons I still open up Figma is to generate vector graphics. And I just have this file of all these fake logos that I just kind of go to every now and then. So I'm just going to use this logo right here that I made up. But yeah, this is one of the few reasons I still open up Figma is to get vector graphics going. AI is still kind of working on that. The Quiver AI tool that recently came out, that looks very promising. I haven't had a chance to dabble in it yet, but I'm excited to dive into it. So I'm going to copy this logo. I have ADHD, so as you can see, I have a lot of unclosed tabs here. But yeah, update the logo to use this. And now that we're using this logo, let's update all mention of the word ledger to be axiom. Update all mention of the word ledger to axiom on the site. Okay, now let's work on this nav a little bit. I'm gonna make that logo just a tinge bigger. Make the logo a tinge bigger. That seems fine. Okay, and I think I want to left align these links to be kind of snug with the logo instead of centered. It just feels kind of busy in here with these 3 elements. So left align the links in the nav bar to be closer to the logo. Okay, good. And I want the button in the nav bar to be a bit smaller. It looks like it might be even a bit bigger than the hero button. So I want it to be a bit tighter so it's not competing with that button. Maybe I'll put this sign in button into like a secondary looking, give it that secondary treatment as well. So make the button in the nav smaller. I don't know. I'm going to say like 28 pixels tall. Give the sign in link a secondary button treatment. Made it too small. It's 24 pixels. That's 24 pixels. Make it 28. And I want it to be text XS. Or text small, not XS. Cool. That looks better. I think it's pretty good. I like that blur treatment that gave. I didn't do that. That just kind of added it, and that's kind of cool. But the border is doing on the nav is doing that same thing, where it's looking kind of muddy. It's probably using a solid gray. Yeah. So make the bottom border on the nav ring. I guess what would be a ring? Yeah, like a ring 950 10. An outer ring. Okay. That's better. That's looking a little more crisp. Let's move down. So I'm gonna move down to this logo cloud. Let's put some real fake logos in there, you know, not just these text logos. Where's my Figma file with all my logos? Yeah, so I'm gonna grab a bunch of these logos. I have them all. I'm gonna just grab these ones right here that are all in a nice column. I'm gonna export them as SVGs. And I'm just gonna put them in the folder of this project. So I'm going to say update the logos in the logo cloud to use the logos in the public/logos folder. Okay. Yeah, they're set at H6 with opacity 70. Don't use any opacity. Make them just gray 950. Make them full width in the container. Make them a bit bigger. Okay, get rid of the off-white background in this section. Get rid of the, I don't know how to type. Get rid of the top, bottom borders. Get rid of the title of this section. Okay, I like that. I don't think the title of that was necessary. I think it was, you know, I see these on a lot of sites and they don't really have a title for the section. They just put the logo and it's very clear that they're likely going to be users of this app. Okay, let me move on to this feature section. Okay, I'm gonna left align this section heading. Left align section heading in the feature section. Okay, and so I'm going to do something different with this treatment. I'm going to do that sort of inline treatment. I think I first saw it on Apple. Linear does this, where sort of the title kind of leads into the supporting copy, and it's sort of inline, and they just use a different color for the supporting text. I think that looks a little bit more interesting. Like Stripe does this too. They do it on their hero now, and in these sections. I think Audio does the same thing. yeah, they sort of do it here as well. So I think that's a cool style right now. So I'm gonna update that to do that style. So update the style of the feature section heading, or make the title and supporting text the same size. Make the title in line with the supporting text so it reads like one block. Make the supporting text, I don't know, I'll say gray 600 for now, just to see what that looks like. Make it medium weight. Make it medium weight. I think that kind of captures that look. We'll see what it does. I mean, that did it. Make it bigger, like 4XL. Also make the supporting sentence a bit longer. I feel like this treatment, this style of title kind of requires a bit of a longer sentence if you're going to use it. Yeah, that seems fine. How's this built? Does it have like a max width on it? Max width 3XL. So instead of giving it like a fixed max width, I like to use like the max width character thing. Make the max. How's that written out? Max width, like I'm just gonna say like CH45, 45, maybe a bit tighter than that. 40. Let me just see 35. 35? I like 40 better. Sometimes you gotta Goldilocks it. What this character rule does is it bases the width of this text block on the amount of characters it could fit into that. I think it's based on like the 0 character. And so I could fit like 45 zeros of this font size in this space. I think that's how it works. But that's a little bit more flexible for when you're working with typography, because sometimes you just want typography you just want a nice reading width. You don't really you don't want to have like sort of a set width. You want it based on how many characters you can fit on the line. So that's a nice little tool for that. I'm gonna say add. It got rid of the eyebrow there, so I'm gonna add that back. Add the eyebrow back. Okay. Yep. Okay, and I'm gonna make it use. How are you doing this session? You're doing good. I like using a monospace for these eyebrows. I think it just looks a little bit more designed, a little more interesting. So I'm gonna say make the eyebrow monospace. Maybe Geist mono. That's a good font. And when I do that, I like to make them all uppercase. So uppercase, and I like to make the tracking a bit wider when I make everything all uppercase. Tracking wide. And I'm gonna make it gray 600, and maybe text XS. Yeah, and I'm gonna say tracking wider, just to give it a little bit more room to breathe. Okay, so that looks more interesting. And I want this same treatment for all of these section headings. Apply this same feature section heading style to all of the sections below. Okay. Okay, that did it right, but it kept it pretty tight there. What's going on here? Why is that happening? Oh, it put the max width 40 characters in. It needs to be the same size that the font is set. Make sure max width 40 characters is on the same line where the font size is set. I don't like that orphaned word right there. I'll get to that in a minute. Let's just focus on this feature section. So I'm gonna put some actual screenshots in here. So what do I got here? I got unified revenue tracking and smart forecasting. I'll just use more screenshots and I'll just kind of focus in on the feature that's highlighting. So for unified revenue tracking, I'll just kind of focus in on this chart and maybe I'll have that like little tooltip thing opened up. And then for the smart forecasting, if I go to the actual app here, there's this sort of trend forecast graph at the bottom here. So maybe I'll have it focus on that with this tooltip showing. So I said, swap the graphics in the features section to use an actual screenshot. Grab a screenshot from the finance app file like you did in the hero. Capture the whole screenshot and crop it in the space so I can focus on a specific part. When grabbing a screenshot for the unified revenue section, make sure the tooltip on the revenue chart is showing. For the forecasting section, grab a screenshot with the forecasting tooltip showing. Let's see if I can pull that off. Oh boy, it's been razzmatazing for 5 minutes. Well, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna put the screenshots on top of the text. Move the screenshots to be above the text in the containers. I'm going to inset them a bit. Inset the screenshots in the containers. I like when it's pretty tight. Thinking like 8 pixels maybe as a starting point. Make sure the border radius on the screenshot is concentric with the container radius. That's just so that the radius kind of matches, it kind of hugs the outer radius. That looks more correct. I'm going to add an outline to the screenshots. I want to say like 955 for now. Yeah, just like that. I want it to be inset, so it's on top of the image. It's probably there. It's probably underneath it. So I want it to be on top of the image. Right now, it's likely behind it. I don't know how to do this stuff. I think you gotta like put it on its own thing and absolute position it. I have no idea how this stuff works. Yeah, but now it's doing what I want it to do. So it has a ring on there, and it's sort of just kind of covering the corner of the image. It's like giving me a nice crisp border around it. Yeah, that looks good. Now I wanted to zoom in on the images a bit more. It's a little zoomed out on each. So, zoom in on each of the images. Like, I don't know, maybe 25% as a starting point. That seems fine, I think. Okay, but I want to move these around. Right now, they're just kind of positioned in the top right. So I could kind of just tell it where I want it moved to. But you know what? I'm going to have build me a little tool here, a temporary tool that I can use to move the image around myself and get it to the spot I want. Build a temporary tool so I can move the images around in the cropped area. And so I'm gonna have to do that. So build me a temporary tool so that I can move the images around in the crop area. Let's see what it does here. Okay, so it made me this little tool here on a different logo host. Can you just make it an temporary inline thing on the site I'm working on? Yeah, so it built me a tool, but it's like in a separate domain. I just want to see it in line here. I want to be able to just move things around right here so I can position them exactly where I want. Cool. See, now I can move this around right here. And I think I want it just like right, I don't know. I'm just going to scale this by, oh yeah. Maybe like right there. And then this one, I'm going to have the same zoom. But I want to show this little panel. Maybe right there. So it's telling me once I've got the positions I like, share the values or hit copy, and I'll bake them into the code and remove the tool. So here are the values for the first image. Here are the values for the second image. Copy that code. Amazing. Okay. Instead of, yeah, so I want this container to be more of a well-styled treatment instead of just like a white container, just to help the image pop a little bit more. So I'm going to say give the containers a background color. I'm going to say gray 950. I want it to be really soft. I'm going to say like 2.5%. Let's just see how that looks. Drop the border around the container. Okay, that's pretty soft. Let's make it opacity 5. That's a bit better. And let's make it a little bit more snug between these containers. I want it to basically be like the same as the gap around this image. So I want it to be pretty tight in there. Make the gap between the two features 8 pixels. Oh, did I get rid of the border on the screenshot? No, it didn't. It just matches the color of the background. So let's make that a bit border. Make the border on the screenshots 10% opacity. Yeah, and then it just kind of pops a little bit more. Okay. Okay, I think this text is a little chunky too. I'm going to make that a bit tighter. Make the feature text text small, maybe? Both the title and description. And I'm going to make it, make the leading a bit taller. Make the leading a bit taller. I'm going to say, I don't know, what is text small is 14. I'm going to double it. Like, so I'm going to make it like double it from the text size. So that'd be 20 pixels. Clean. Cool. I like this well treatment. You know what? I might do the same well treatment for the hero too. So I'm gonna say put the screenshot in the hero in a well styled container, like the feature sections. But I want it because it's much bigger. I do want it to have much more liberal spacing. This is all pretty tight. So give it, I'm gonna say like 64 pixel padding around the screenshot. I feel like these sentences that I write barely make sense, but it understands me every single time. Yeah, that's like doing what I want it to do. Why did it change the radius of the screenshot there? Make the radius on the screenshot a bit bigger. That's better. I want it cropped at the bottom. I want it kind of sitting on the bottom of the container. So instead of having like equal space all around, 0 padding at the bottom. I want the bottom of the screenshot to be cropped a bit at bottom. Crop it by like 10 pixels just to get rid of that like gray edge around it at the bottom. At the bottom. Get rid of the bottom corner radius. And now that it's cropped, I need to add a little bit of a border here. So add a inset ring on the container. 5% opacity. Make sure it's on top of the screenshot. Okay, that's better. So now it kind of has some definition between the edge and the screenshot. Okay. Let me work my way down here. I'm gonna do this stats section here. First of all, I'm not crazy about this dark background. I want it to be pretty simple. Get rid of the dark background on the stat section. Okay, and let's left align all of the stats. So I'm going to say left align the stats, make them fill the entire width of the page container. I'm going to have it also, I'm not crazy about this orphan text, so apply pretty to the section heading sentence. text pretty. That's what I meant to say, but it understood me perfectly. Okay, these numbers stats are pretty clunky. Make the values in the stats, I don't know, like just regular font size. I think I can make them a bit bigger, like maybe 5XL. Oh, I meant to say regular font weight. Ugh. Oh, but it got it right. And make the labels, let's look a little bit soft. Labels like, I don't know, Ray 600? Is that what it is already? No, that's a bit better. Just a little bit higher contrast. Okay, so this section is looking pretty good. Maybe I could add like a divider. Add a divider between each stat. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm going to move on to this testimonial section. What can I do here? I just want to make it look a bit more visual. I'm going to get some real images in here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put the images, I'm going to get like, just generate some images on ChatGPT and make them like the background of the card, and then put a sort of a dark shim on it that the text could sit on top. So I'm going to go over to, so I got ChatGPT to generate a bunch of images for me. So yeah, I'm going to copy all these into the prompt here. First image, second image, third image. Use these images in the testimonial section. Use each image as the background for the card container. Make the text for the quote white. Get rid of the stars and the circle avatar container. Align the quote at the bottom of the portrait. Okay, so it wants me to put these images into my public folder. So I'm going to do that right here. And yeah, I'm just going to pop them in there. And I'm just going to rename these 3. Okay, so those are all saved in there. They are there now. They are as PNGs, whatever. Also update the names to be unisex. Oh yeah. Oh, and it even updated the spacing because I was planning to match that with this, but it just kind of learned from itself. And what I also like what it did is it added a bit of a dark shim to the bottom. It just sort of, right? Is that what I'm seeing correctly? Yeah, there's sort of a, yeah, like a sort of a gradient from the bottom to the top there. So just so the text stands out a bit more. Wonderful. And I'm going to make the names just a bit smaller. Make the name title a bit smaller. Maybe text, I gotta say text XS, which is ballpoint. Cool. And maybe make the line height of the name title bigger. Cool. Lovely. Okay, the last thing I want to touch on, I'm going to do this footer and the and the CTA section. Get rid of the background card in the CTA section. Cool. And oh, it just updated everything else. It updated the style of the button. So it's just kind of learning as it goes here, which is sort of nice. I don't have to make additional updates. I mean, that looks fine. What would I have done differently? No, that looks fine. I'll leave it as is. I think the way this kind of wraps is funny. Text pretty. That doesn't look pretty. Maybe text balance? That's better. Yeah, so sometimes you have to play with like text pretty and text balance to get the right results. But I think text balance looks a little bit better in this situation because you don't have the funky wrapping with the 14-day free trial stuff. So that's looking pretty good. Get rid of the off-white background on the footer. Let's start there. Okay, and I'm gonna swap this logo to be just the mark, not like the mark and the text. So I'm gonna go back to my Figma file here and grab just that. Let's just like duplicate this and get rid of this guy and copy as SVG. Okay, use this for the logo in the footer. And how is this built? Is this built like with equal columns? Yeah, it's just built with on a grid. Okay, with 5 columns. Okay, that's fine. Get rid of the text below the logo. I don't think that's necessary. I want to clean it up a little bit. It's looking kind of busy over here. Yep, that's fine. And I want to make all the links a bit tighter. Right now it looks like it's using like text small. Make all the links in the footer text XS. Cool. Next, let's make those social media links. Make the social. They look a bit clunky. I want to make them darker. They also feel just a bit clunky right now. So make the social media icons a bit smaller and gray 950. Cool. That's fine. Okay, this is looking pretty good. I want to fix up the spacing between these sections. One thing I was thinking I could do to this site is, I see this on a lot of sites, this sort of, I like to call it a canvas grid. It's something like a stripe sort of does it. You can kind of see these borders that go around the entire site. They kind of contain each section. An Adio, the site I brought up earlier as well, it does that as well. It sort of has this grid. We do it on the Tailwind site. It's just sort of a popular treatment to do. It's again, like the screenshot, it's just a great little technique you could add to a site just to make it a little bit more interesting, just make it a little bit more visual. If you don't have like custom graphics to work with, it's just a nice way to add just some visual gimmick to the site. And then once I do that, maybe that will kind of fix some of my problems here with the spacing between everything. So So I'm going to write something up here and repeat it out loud when I'm done writing it up. So, okay, so I want to add decorative borders to the entire site. I want each section to have containing borders that are the size of the page container. I also want dividers between each section. Let's just see what it does with that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it did a pretty good job. This is like a double border right here. Okay. Okay, I think it'd be cool if the borders kind of hug the containers a little bit better. So any of these sections that have a container sort of in them, it should hug those, but maybe add a little bit more space between areas that don't have containers. So I'll try to communicate that. And I think I want the space between the containers be sort of match the gap I have between these containing elements. So this 8 pixel gap right here. Okay, so I wrote, I want the borders to hug the containers on the site a bit better. So the container in the hero feature section and the testimonials, make sure it has 8 pixel space between the containers on the sides and at the bottom of the container. For items that are not contained, give them additional padding, so like all the section headings and stuff. So let's just see what it does with that. Okay, so it did a pretty good job there. Yeah, like it even hugs the bottom of these container sections. So that looks good. The only thing, it didn't quite do it in the hero. So I'm going to say good job. Seeing about 16 pixel padding below the image in the hero. Can you fix that? Seeing a double border between the CTA section and the footer. And I also want this border to be full width. So make the border between the footer links and the copyright stuff full width. Cool. And you know what? It might be cool if all the vertical borders actually full width of like the viewport, not just this container. Just to make it a little bit more interesting as you scroll. Make the vertical borders, I mean it's horizontal borders. Make the horizontal borders between each section full width of the viewport. Keep the vertical lines where they are. Oh yeah, first try. Yeah, I'm gonna get it to bring up I'm getting it to bring up the old version. I'm just gonna put it on a different page within this project, just so it's recreating the old version right now. Okay. Yeah, so here's what it looked like before. Okay. And here is where I landed with it. So, just some more interesting patterns and different way of laying it out. These are all just ideas you could try to use on your site. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to leave it like that. Cool. I'm not going to make any other changes. I've been recording for a while now. I'm probably going to chop this all up, but yeah, so if you enjoyed this, we're working on a tool right now called UI.sh. It's a tool, it's a set of skills for coding agents like Claude Code, AMP, Cursor, everything that says right here. And I'm working on this with Adam Wathen and the Tailwind team, and it's not fully out right now. There are some early users right now, but we're sharing a lot of updates right now, and we'll be making it more public very soon. So follow along with that. Now, if you enjoyed this, I hope to be making more videos like this very soon. So thanks for tuning in.